You know, RuPaul once said, if you can't love yourself, how the hell are you gonna love somebody else? I can't say it like RuPaul. I've never been able to do anything like RuPaul. I'm jealous of RuPaul. This is well known in certain circles. RuPaul is gorgeous as a woman and a man. I can't compete. I don't try. But there is something I know a little bit about when it comes to the one side or the other, or rather the sort of bifurcation of the space, including the psychological space and or sort of reflection. Especially if, like me, you have your Gemini in Jupiter. My Jupiter is in Gemini. My mama was a Gemini. And somebody I really, really respected, who used to be a member of a political organization I was also a member of for a while, was also a Gemini. Maybe you know him. But there was somebody else who, at some point, had done some things in his life, and when he died, he gave his estate toward the organization that he helped found. And that estate was not only actual financial property, financial arrangements that he had made, actual monetary contributions. It was also his human capital, as some would say, his intellectual contributions, his ideological treatise, his biographies. See, at some point, he had been known as a journalist, a reporter, he had met with presidents, he had done some things. I read everything he wrote. I read it through anthology, I read it through biography. Other people that I knew that considered themselves to be more of a colleague of his or to be more of a, shall we say, progeny in the same sort of lineage as he was, had not read his entire canon as I had. I read everything he wrote except for one book. This book. I never read this book. I never read The Other America, Poverty in the United States by Michael Harrington. I read The Long Distance Runner. I read Socialism. I read Socialism Then and Now. I read other things that were individually written as well as compiled in anthologies. I read everything he wrote except for this. And yet, at some point, I believe that people I used to know as colleagues, who graduated from college, by the way, thought that they would engage me in some manner, way, shape, or form as part of a political experiment where I became their token in the other America. I actually have family from Appalachia, you know. The story about how my mother and father met actually took place in the Appalachian Mountains. My mother was from the city. She was second generation in an immigrant family. My father never knew his father. He was raised by a single mother. But he had a job working in the countryside, in the mountains. And something had happened. My mother had gone to visit a distant relative of the family in a remote setting. She was in an area where there was a barn, and my father's job was to tend to the horses. He, among other things, made sure their facilities were well maintained. That's how they met. That was my Appalachia story, but somebody else, I believe, thought that they would try to give me Michael Harrington's Other America a couple decades later and see how it went. I've never read this, so I don't know how to compare what I've actually lived in the 10 years since I've been actively defamed as part of capital outlays that took a different route around 2005 through 2006, right? But now we are where we are. So this is what I'm going to do. I believe Michael Harrington would have liked me if I'd been able to meet him while he was alive. I enjoyed reading his estate. I enjoyed the contributions from his estate that were made to my life. The only thing I really didn't agree with him on had to do with his essay concerning lesser evilism when it came to electoral politics. And unfortunately, I believe, ideologically speaking, that the organization that now considers themselves to be the inheritors of his estate have focused far too significantly on that one essay to the detriment of the rest of what he said, including in what he said was that in order for there to ever be anything that could be called socialism, there are certain material preconditions. And those material preconditions include having the kind of democratic participation that enables people to take responsibility for financial democracy as well as other forms of democratic participation. That means holding yourself accountable. That means holding other people accountable. And that also means that understanding that there is an actual process whereby certain institutions have to develop and people have to be able to obtain certain kinds of experience so that they have the knowledge they need to be able to participate in a truly democratic system. He was not a big fan of bureaucratic collectivism. If you ever read what he wrote, you'd know that. But then again, I'm not really certain how many people have read what I wrote. So I am going to read The Other America, and I'm going to find out what you thought you knew about my people.